Well, for more on the wider political consequences of what's happening in Ouagadougou, let's speak with Douglas Yates, who's a professor of political science at the American Graduate School here in Paris. Douglas, details are still emerging about what exactly is happening in Burkina Faso, but is this another coup? We're seeing the same problems and frustrations being expressed by people right across the wider region, that part of West Africa.
Yeah, it looks like a cookie cutter coup. I mean, last year we had a coup in Mali, we had a coup in Niger, we had a coup in Chad, and this looks really like exactly the same thing. A response to failed efforts to fight the war on terror, to fight jihadists, general malaise with the perceived corruption of the government leaders, as well as actors who are trying to come back to power. And I think that might be what's going on here with the military mutiny in Burkina Faso.
And what kind of impact do you think it'll have on, for example, French military engagement in the region? Anti-French sentiment is also growing in that part of West Africa. We had a French soldier, another one killed in Mali at the weekend, another soldier injured in Burkina Faso.
Well, the two forces who seem to be celebrating the president's arrest are popular protesters, people in the streets in the capital, in Ouagadougou, who've been saying that he's not capable of fighting jihadists, and military mutiny. And those two are sort of partners of convenience. That is, right now they have something in common. They want to take down the current regime. But once that's over, I think that the military needs to find partners, and France remains a serious military partner. It can provide equipment, it can provide intelligence, it operates throughout the entire region. Unless Burkina Faso were to cut a deal with the Russians, the military have no choice but to work with France. So the optics are bad. For the protests, for the man in the street, it appears like neo-colonialism. But for the military rulers, who are the military coup plotters and mutineers who are asking for more material, better budget, ammunition, medical supplies, those things are most likely to be provided by France, the only major power who's really acting in the region.
And Professor, Burkina Faso, it's a small landlocked country in Western Africa. Tell us a little bit about why what's happening there could have such wide consequences regionally and also here in France and Europe.
Right. So the northern part of the country, where most of the jihadist attack occurs, is in an area called the Three Borders region with Mali and with Niger. And the jihadists in that region have local origins, social discontent. These were peoples who were largely ignored for 27 years under Blaise Compaoré. And when his regime was toppled, that was precisely when the attacks began. There are real social origins of malaise by people who feel abandoned by their capital cities. In Ouagadougou, in the whole region, a north-south division has gone on. And those people are the ones being recruited into these international terror networks. And those networks, as you have rightly noted, are targeting France as an external enemy in an effort to wage a jihad in the absence of real enemies.
And Professor, we haven't seen any real political reaction so far from neighbouring countries. But Mali, for example, and Guinea, they've already been suspended from ECOWAS. Mali is facing sanctions. What are the consequences politically for Burkina Faso should this turn out, in effect, to be a coup?
Well, it's almost humorous. There's very few countries left in ECOWAS who don't seem to have either suffered or on the verge of suffering coup d'etats or unconstitutional presidencies for life. So it's going to be extremely difficult for ECOWAS to exclude another member. I think this has to be dealt with by the African Union at this point. I don't think ECOWAS has the tools to cut off Burkina Faso.
Okay. Professor Douglas Yates, political science professor at the American Graduate School here in Paris. Thanks so much for joining us.